How long has it been since you've been here?
We played here right after we were in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay.
So we asked him. We did a benefit for. It was a house that burned down. That was like that did sort of underground press and all that. So.
Does this look pretty much the way it did way back in the late '80s?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, this wall's been painted over about 10,000 times.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Names and.
There's a painting up there that's been there the entire time. It's like a monster with looks like a tornado in its mouth. But that's been there. The basketball court's always been there.
Has your original name been there for?
We painted that there when we did a demo here in '88.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So the vibe is pretty much the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's young people putting it all volunteer, keeping the place open. It's been open for 30 plus years now.
What was it? When did you first play here?
We played here, I think it was like October 1988 was the first time we played here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So like a year after it opened.
Pretty much, yeah. What we started coming to shows here. Tré played here with his band.
It's like the third show or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, when he was in the Lookouts.
I was like this tall.
And amazing people have like come here as kids. Well, not just come here, but like we've had they've like musicians, artists, filmmakers, you name it, that have gone on to do amazing things. We're part of this community, so it's just really cool to have a place like this in any community that can teach people or let a space for where kids can figure out how to do things themselves.
Yeah. What did it mean for you guys to play here back then?
Like playing Mecca.
Yeah.
This might as well have been playing Shea Stadium where it's like.
You were actually like banned here from here for a while though, right?
Yeah, we couldn't play anymore because we signed to a major label, and there's this kind of a rule of no major label bands. Everything's got to be indie, DIY.
Yeah. Did that feel kind of weird?
Yeah, it was heartbreaking.
Was it?
Yeah. Yeah, it was this like kind of lost like like your home,
What would you say you learned here?
Community, how to do things yourself, the importance of knowing, trusting in the people around you and what is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. No racism, no sexism, no homophobia.
It's right there on the door.
Yeah, it always has been.
Yeah. Would this place have been just packed to the gills?
I'd seen, for Green Day shows, eventually. I mean, sometimes it was always up and
I've
down.
seen it all, yeah. Like sometimes there's 20 people in the room.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen some of the best shows I've ever seen in my life here.
Yeah.
Operation Ivy, SNFU, and
Neurosis.
A lot of, Crim Shrine, all the this was our scene.
Yeah.
It was like we didn't come from late 1977 stuff, and we didn't come, wasn't CBGBs for us. It wasn't like hardcore in the early 80s. It was like this was our scene. These was our bands, that we grew up with.
Yeah. It was documented locally, but never really out there. And a few years ago, a lot of the people from the scene, along with our help, we were able to make a documentary about it called Turn It Around. And it's really tells about our scene and where it starts, where it comes from, and what it meant to the people here.
So what did it mean to be part of the community that kind of created the music that came out of here?
We were learning. We were just kids, learning. So we were taking our cues from people who were already pointing in the right direction.
Yeah.
And really, that's what Billy's saying. In high school, I wasn't learning anything. We were a lot of people here the kids were here were latchkey kids and stuff, and so we learned community, family, values, but also work. I learned my short game right over there on the basketball court.
I'm gonna go in the bathroom. Yeah, it's so funny on the urinal. There's a Green Day tribute band. They're called Not Green Day.
So you guys have 2 major anniversaries and a new album, which just in reading it, I was really upset to honestly that the Dookie is like 30 years old now. Do you have a more acute sense of time with these anniversaries facing you?
I don't know, like playing American Idiot and playing Dookie, it's like it's kind of honoring your past,
Yeah.
you know? But yeah, sometimes my memories can be pretty vivid. You know, obviously going through Gilman Street and then making Dookie, being on tour, and then 10 years later, it's American Idiot, you know. But I think it's like we've just been able to always be making music for so long, it just kind of keeps, it's just a constant journal and journey, you know.
In some respects, you've reinvented yourselves, but everything you've done is reflected on what you've done before, it feels like to me. I don't know what it feels like to you.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, I think it's an evolution, right? I think Saviors is definitely a product of everything we've learned throughout our entire career. And to have these two massive record anniversaries at the same time is like, it's interesting. It's also, kind of humbling too. It's like, wow, what a great career we've had.
It's just nice to be able to stop and look back.
Yeah, just appreciate the moment, but also the past moments as well.
What makes you want to make music at this point in your careers? Or is that ever present?
I mean, for me, making music and being in a band, it gives me a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
For one thing, it's all I've done since I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get into other stuff. It's like constantly just sort of the thought of just like, I dream in melody and concepts and lyrics and things like that. And so I just keep on, if there's a muse there, I keep following it down.
Yeah.
With us, like, making music is more of a natural instinct than, say, bathing.
True story.
True story. Mike, what about you? I'm just curious.
I mean, I think Bille's right. It's purpose. It's also, like writing a great record, you just know that's going to be around forever. And the commonality we all have is that we all know that this is the most important thing we're ever going to do is creatively, we're going to leave something that's going to outlast us.
Yeah.
That has weight to it, so we try to honor that. And it's always been really important to us to make something, everybody wants to leave a mark, right? So.
Yeah.
I think we're natural born thrill seekers. It's like, instead of, jumping out of airplanes, we play in front of 60,000 people.
Yeah. That's still a thrill. This is your 14th album, which is like also pretty amazing. What was that?
It's just crazy to think that we've made 14 albums. I think that's what I mean, where it's like we just keep going, and then all of a sudden someone will point something out, and then every record is an era of your life.
Yeah. But a lot of bands get stuck, at a certain point, going like, "What have I got to say? What am I going to say now?"
That's natural.
It doesn't seem to have happened to you.
For me, writing lyrics is always trying to find the things and the insecurities, the vulnerabilities, and the looking at your viewpoints or whatever of the world. It's having the guts to admit to yourself the things that you don't normally admit to yourself, and that's what like music is and writing songs is for me.
What is that process like?
The process for me starts in my brain with melody.
Yeah.
And just, there's not much has changed. It's sitting around playing my guitar and then something clicks.
I guess my question is, how do you take the melody and marry it to whatever insecurity you're going to deal with, if that's what you're talking about?
Well, sometimes the melodies and the songs, like, they just sort of give way to like the feeling and matching the feeling to what the music is like conveying. On the new record, there's a song like Corvette Summer, which is kind of a song about being like very, something very simple. Like I just want to listen to rock and roll, and then there's other things like The American Dream is Killing Me.
Yeah.
The melody and lyrics just all came out at one time.
They did.
It's just, and there's no really explaining it. It just does.
Where do you think it came from?
I think that song is just sort of about the stress and anxiety of living in America right now, and being in America, and sort of how you're hit every single day with the algorithm of chaos,
Yeah.
and whatever is happening in our country at the time, politics, the culture.
I mean, and I'm thinking about that because there's a song on the album, Father to a Son,
Yeah.
which has a couple of really great lines in it.
Yeah.
I forget the one about love and anger.
Yeah.
I never thought.
I never knew a love could be like stronger than anger. Like for me, being a father was on the job training. Like I didn't know, everything I did back then was impulsive.
Yeah. Isn't it for everybody pretty much, I think?
Yeah. It's like after Dookie, I was married just 3 months after the record came out, to Adrian, and then found out the day after our marriage, the day we got married, that we were having a kid. And
Do you think that's changed you musically in any way?
Oh yeah, being a parent makes everything more apparent. Yeah,
well, I mean, for us being in a band and stuff like that, like sleep deprivation, we were already used to, so that part of parenting wasn't that bad. But where parenting helps probably is you get that dad strength, of just carrying kids and strollers and all the crap that comes with the children, and you get this extra layer of beef. And so now, me personally, I hit harder now.
yeah.
we went straight from putting out Dookie to cleaning up Dookie.
For the anniversary of Dookie, did you go back and listen to sort of the original demos?
Yeah, I had cassettes demos that we had made on a 4-track that had been sitting around preserved for 30 years.
Yeah. What did you hear when you listened to them?
I heard that we knew exactly what we wanted.
Yeah.
We went to Tré's parents' place where they lived up in the woods up in Mendocino County.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just brought my 4-track with me, and then we, made these demos, and it was just kind of like we wanted to be prepared, but like when I look back on it now, I was like, wow, we knew what we wanted. But it was just in a more of a lo-fi kind of way.
Yeah. That's
Some of that had evolution to it too. You could see some lyrical changes. Mm-hmm. You could see, oh, that was a different bridge or whatever. But we, as the demos progressed, right before we went in, like Billy said, we wanted to be prepared. That was a big studio, and we didn't want to waste time, or money.
Yeah. Before that, to record a record, you had like a day. Yeah. So you'd better had rehearsed your material, knew exactly what you wanted to do. So we had rehearsed that, and we came into Fantasy, and then we kind of were, we didn't have to like make things up, so we were kind of like soaking it up, like, oh, what does this do? What does this do? And I feel like we learned a ton on that, with big 2-inch tape and a lot of knobs, a lot of lights.
Yeah.
So we were kind of like, what's that?
Bigger room.
Mm-hmm. And we didn't have to like really think about like, oh, what's the song structure? We knew how to play the songs.
Yeah. At that point, were you thinking the stakes were pretty high?
Yeah. We went in with just like to go in and make the best record that we possibly could.
Yeah.
We took a chance, basically, and we knew that it was going to be a breaking point from like where we were at when we were playing places like Gilman Street.
Yeah.
And then suddenly going into a different world,
What was the world you were going into? I mean, the way you saw it.
I saw it as going into the possibility of going into the mainstream, and which we've always flown under the radar. And we were a part of a network of people booking shows in VFW halls and backyards and garages all throughout the country, and we could play, anywhere from 200 to 500 people. Yeah. But nobody knew that, like in the mainstream. It wasn't like Spin Magazine was covering us or anything like that. Yeah. So when we came out, we had a pretty big following already. Yeah. So it kind of took a lot of people off guard. We were like, who are these guys?
Yeah. Were you reaching for something at that point?
I mean, we were trying to make a great record, something that sounded like us, but in a bigger sound.
Yeah.
There was really no looking back. We were kind of outgrowing a lot of the small clubs we were playing in, and You know, I didn't want to go back to work for UPS again. We didn't want to flip burgers. So we wanted to look forward and do what we basically at that point felt like we were put on this earth to do.
I wanted to hear us on the radio.
Yeah. What did it feel like?
It felt like I wanted to keep hearing us on the radio.
As soon as it was over, it's like, okay, well now what? I want to hear it again. Like,
Yeah.
it's you know, it's like crack.
Yeah.
Rob Cavallo, you know, producing Dookie, is like he had done this band called The Muffs. He knew how to make great guitar sounds and stuff and bigger sounds. I just remember really wanting to hear our band, like our songs, sound that big.
Yeah.
You know, because it always been kind of lo-fi before, because we just couldn't afford to, you know, record in a big studio or a nicer.
Yeah. Our first record cost $700 to make.
Really?
Yeah.
On Lookout Records, yeah.
Yeah. Rob did he did American Idiot too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's done a lot of records with us.
Yeah. So it's like he's done all three of these.
Yeah. Saviors.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely have chemistry with Rob.
Yeah.
He is a student of music, and he's just a lover of music, and he's a very, very vast knowledge of recording and the music history, everything else, and that's something we all share a love for.
Yeah.
And he's an expert on us.
Yeah.
Which is,
Is that a good
Saying
thing or a bad?
something.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
you have to ask him.
Yeah.
Well, it's great because he knows how to get the best performances out of us.
Yeah.
You know, we can take off the producer hat ourselves, and just let him drive.
It was 10 years later with that album, but the stakes were pretty high for you guys again, because I mean, some folks thought you guys were past your prime.
They were wrong. You make records, and sometimes it's like the metrics of what people think is success it's so strange, because as soon as you sell like 10 million records, you know, with Dookie, anything less than that is looked at sort of not being successful. Yeah. So people kind of, you know, thought that like maybe we were over our prime. We wanted to make our, you know, Tommy. We wanted to make our Ziggy Stardust. We wanted to make our Sgt. Pepper's. A lot of bands feel that way. We felt that way from the very beginning. And that was our opportunity when it came to Idiot, that we were like, okay, now's the time.
Yeah.
Well, like when Insomniac came out, I remember some interviews like, so are you guys disappointed that it's only 4 times platinum? And it's like, yeah, what a drag.
Yeah.
I don't find a lot of artists necessarily measure their albums that way. Do you guys? I mean, against each other? Do you do that?
I think they sort of all work together, really.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that there's one record that reacts against another record. They all sort of are ingredients to, you know, what we've got going now, which I think is a pretty tasty treat.
How would you say you got here to this album?
It's strange. First, I just wanted to make like a punk record that was more like, you know, songs like Look Mono Brains, Coma City, Living in the 20s. Now I want to make something that sounds more stadium, something big like Goodnight Adeline and Saviors and American Dream is Killing Me. By the time we got together and we were like, you know, we're like, well, we have like 16, 17 songs. I think it's time to go in the studio. And I was like, really? Okay, let's go. And by that time, it was like, we were like, and then I was like, oh, now I know. This thing is like pulled everything together, like what Mike was saying about the knowledge that we had accrued through the years. And
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying that you realized that this album was kind of pulling everything you'd done together.
Yeah, it just happened to be that it landed cohesive with this. We try, you know, whatever we're writing, we're trying to write the best version of that we ever can, or that we can, and you know, so you're kind of getting a little bit of everything that we've ever done in this, but I think you're getting it at the highest quality that we've ever done it. You know?
There's a song on this called Dilemma, which I love. It may be my favorite song on the record. But
oh, thanks.
I think I read that you said that it's some of the most personal writing you've done.
Yeah, I mean, the first line of Dilemma is, welcome to my problems, it's not an invitation.
Yeah.
It sort of kind of works in two ways, where it's like, it's very personal when it comes to like talking about sobriety and falling off the wagon, coming back on, you know, and then but it works in another way where it's like the people that are actually partiers in the crowd are like, I was sober, now I'm drunk again, you know, you know, and I'm like, oh, you know, so it's, it's kind of, the way that it works is just, I don't know. I love that song. It's one of my favorites on the record.
What took you to that subject?
It kind of the same thing as American Dream, where it just all happened right at once. As the melody hit, the lyric hit, and then you know, I make voice notes of like different melodies on my, you know, that I put on my phone.
Right.
And then and it just that happened. It write itself in like 20 minutes.
You mentioned melodies in dreams. How often does that happen?
I wouldn't say dreams. I'd say more like daydreams.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they just stuff just floats into your head.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we see it happen to him.
Do you?
Yeah, we'll be like hanging out, just hanging and make conversation, and then, oh, you don't know what I'm saying right now. You're writing a song, aren't you? He's like, and then he'll go, what?
Yeah,
It's like, no, keep doing that.
We put the sign on him and says he'll be back in a half an hour.
You played American Idiot New Year's Eve. You changed the lyrics, which, as you know, seem to upset some people.
Mm-hmm. I've been saying MAGA agenda since 2016. And then, and it said MAGA agenda. One word.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a word, it was a hyphen.
Yeah.
You know? And then everybody picked up on it.
Yeah.
You know, so but I'm proud of what I said, and I stand behind it 1,000%.
Yeah. What do you make of that? The chaos that comes out of something like that.
I think it's very telling of the temperature of the world right now.
Yeah. What I'm really proud of is I didn't tweet it, I sang it.
Yeah.
You know, that's like, it's easy to go up and like tweet something at the top of your head, and you know, it's like, for me, saying it comes more from the heart.
It goes to show you that music is powerful and can be dangerous and can tip the needle.
That's still the power of music, isn't it? That's kind of refreshing in some ways, I think.
Yeah, all of my favorite bands and singers have always been some form of, they've all been rebels, and they've all been some form of protest music.
But love will keep us together.
Love will tear us apart.
Is it important for you to still be a protest band in some way, do you think? Is that what sort of the punk part of it has always been about?
I think, you know, we've always wanted to keep our edge.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's why we work so hard and have the patience and to wait for those inspired moments where it feels like it's like a new idea, it's a fresh idea.
Yeah.
It's not something that is, you know, like I said, this record, I feel like for Saviors is years in the making, because you know, there was a much bigger story that needed to be told about where America was heading from after Obama.
Yeah.
You know, through the Trump era and sort of the divisiveness that was coming through in America.
Yeah.
From the right and the left, a lot of just like, you know, it's just like people just shouting. So I think it's just watching the world evolve or devolve and write the lyrics.
You're going out on tour.
Yeah, we're doing the Saviors tour, and we're going to be playing Dookie in its entirety and American Idiot in its entirety. It's just so wild to have those two records to be exactly 10 years apart.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has ever had those kinds of records that come, you know, at that particular time. And I think it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to come see those two records. We don't know if we're ever going to do them again. I think it's going to be some really special shows.
You know, we're obviously going to throw some other things in there too. We've got a new album, and so it's kind of a trifecta moment, you know. It's really neat to see these three albums come together and be able to go up there and just celebrate our past. We never really looked back a whole lot. Or too far forward. We just kind of stayed in the moment, but this is I want to savor this moment. You know.
Yeah.
I think we all can.
I want to
Savior
this moment.
I knew that was coming.
And here's your dad joke.